In this lesson, we'll learn about the point on curve deformer. The point on the curve deformer creates controls along a curve in the form of locators. These locators are tied down to the edit points of a curve, and they allow us to transform the curve by those locators, essentially. Let's go and learn how to use this point on the curve deformer. Right now in the scene, I have the arm deformed by the curve with a wire deformer. And we have another course dedicated to the wire deformer if you'd like to learn more about it. What I'm going to do is at the top I'm going to turn off geometry selection so we can just work with this curve. What I'll now do is go to wireframe mode. I'll right click on the curve and choose edit point mode. Let's go ahead and grab a point at the elbow. We'll also grab a point at the wrist. Heading over to create deformers, going to the very bottom, we'll find the point on the curve tool. And just go into the options. We only have a few to work with. We can control the weight of each control object. So 1 meaning 100%, fully controlling that edit point. And then we could also keep our original curve if we were to turn on this option. But with it off, we're going to create those locators directly tied to the original curve, which is what we want. And I'll show you what happens when we use keep original. But right now, let's go ahead and leave it off and we'll choose create. You can see that now two locators have been created at each edit point that was selected. Now, if we were to take one of these locators and start to transform it into our move tool, we'll see that our pivot is at the origin of the scene. But this is no problem at all. If we were to go to modify, we can choose center pivot to center the pivot to the selected locator. So now, as we start to move this around, you can see we now have a deformer control, which would be a lot better for animation. So this is really neat. Let's go ahead and check out the one near the elbow. We'll select that locator. Again, you can see where the pivot is. You can always center the pivot. I've actually added it to my shelf by holding down Control Shift and going to the menu and left clicking on the option you'd like to add to the shelf. Now if we were to choose center pivot and start to move this locator, now we have some really interesting elbow bending control. This would be great for a cartoony type character. Now before we finish, let me go ahead and undo a few times before those locators were created, just so we can take a look at the other option we have in the point on curve tool. So if we were to turn on keep original and choose create, watch what's going to happen now. We'll still be able to deform a curve, but it's not going to influence the arm at all because this is an entirely new curve we're deforming, not the one connected to the arm shape. So be mindful when using that tool. Chances are you're going to want to leave keep original off, which it is by default. So in this lesson, we've learned how to use the point on curve tool, again, which is great for deforming a curve.